Hello everyone, first of all, we just hit 10k subs on this channel. Incredible achievement that's only been possible by your continuous support, and I can't thank you all enough. Just wanted to appreciate all of you before we get started. And now back to the topic. Phaetusa is arriving on the global server and she is an interesting one. She is our second limited melee doll since Ulrith, like 1.5 years later. But is she worth pulling for? I know her design looks sick, and if you want her in your collection, I don't need to convince you of reasons. But if you are considering her for her meta values, where does she stand? Do you need her, or can you safely skip her? We are going to go through her full kit, dupes, team comps, weapons, and give you the full picture, so let's get into it. Like always, I'll start with the TLDR first. Phaetusa is a Corrosion melee sentinel doll, and her role is a sub DPS for the Corrosion team, scaling up into genuine main DPS territory at high investment. Her kit revolves around one core loop, stack up to 3 layers of blade resonance, then detonate them with her ultimate for an absolutely massive AoE nuke. The damage formula for her ult is actually crazy with those stacks, and at higher dupes those numbers get absurd. She also has a time travel mechanic through her passive, which can become an active skill that can effectively let her fire up the big nuke twice in the same sequence, which is her signature play movement. Besides her big DPS potential, she also brings debuffs to all enemies. She has 9 tiles of movement by default, which is among the highest in the game, and her skills give her enormous map coverage like Vanguard characters. Oh, and she also has action support that triggers off of allied AoE attacks, which synergies perfectly with the Corrosion team, which is all about AoE damage. And she can help Klukai gain Confectance Index. So everything looks good. What's our pull recommendation then? It's honestly a bit tricky. Right now on global we still have the 5th Corrosion slot open, so if you pull her, you can slot her right in there to complete your full 5 Corrosion team, and it will be great. It only gets tricky when you start considering her future value, as we will get Bestie, Groza altar and Nemesis altar in future. In my opinion, if you are F2P or low spender struggling with your pool resources and or looking at long-term investment values, you can safely skip her. Unless you want her for your dorm collection, of course. I don't need to mention that, go get your waifus always. But strictly considering meta, since she is a DPS character, if you can't V6 her, her value at low investments have a limited shelf life. In future, when we get access to Nemesis altar for free, that V1C1 Nemesis altar will be better than your below V3 Fae, and you can V6 that Nemesis altar over time for free. So yes, it's a difficult recommendation considering that. But it's still very far away for us, and in the meantime, if you do want to complete your Corrosion team, you can absolutely get her V0. Phaetusa at V0 is already a solid pickup for the Corrosion team, especially if you have V6 Klukai. Hey, she also might get a good buff when she gets her mod key, but I don't want to recommend anything based on imaginary potential. Well, for now, V0 Fae will slot in as the 5th member in the Corrosion team, but she really is just a Peritia replacement, as she will fulfill that same requirement of giving Klukai her Confectance Indexes with her support attacks, just like Peritia. And I believe even V0 Fae is slightly better in damage compared to V6 Peritia. So as soon as Bestie arrives next in global, Peritia will be the first one to get benched from that roster. If you do have spare pulling resources to invest more into Phaetusa, the next breakpoint I will recommend is V1C1. This is the sweetest spot to stop if you are considering going for her. Her signature weapon does bring a lot of value after her V1, as we don't really have a lot of blade choices, so you can definitely go for it if you can afford. Beyond V1 though, almost all of her dupes are actually good, but I would only suggest to go for V6 straight after her V1. At V6, she is really worth it though, with her damage being only slightly behind Klukai with her mod key in CN. So if you can go V6, please go ahead. Or you can just borrow a V6 Fae for now if you have your own V6 Klukai to make the busted Corrosion team. There's a big consideration for V3 as a middle point, and it's valid since it's a significant boost on her damage and playstyle. But honestly, I have realized that for DPS characters especially, you should either stay relatively low investment or go full max out. Half investments end up feeling worse, and as I said before, just her V3 can be eventually power crept with Nemesis altar. So yeah, either skip her, or if pulling, go for V0, then V1C1, then V6, that's it. Alright, enough yapping, let's go through her skill kit now. Her skill 1 is a mobility AoE tool. She selects a tile within a cross-shaped area of 8 tiles, dashes to that tile and deals Corrosion melee damage equal to 90% attack to all enemies along the entire path. So she is cutting across the map in a straight line in one of the 4 directions and damaging everything in her way. 0 cooldown, 0 confectance cost, you can use it whenever you want to. Her skill 2 is her core skill. It's the blade resonance stack generator and setup skill. She gains 1 stack of Blade Resonance and applies Lacerating Wound to all enemy targets on the field for 2 turns. And she gains extra command after using it, so she can use another skill after this one. We need to know what is Blade Resonance and Lacerating Wound now. Lacerating Wound is a debuff she applies to enemies. While it is on an enemy, whenever that enemy takes any damage from a blade attack, it receives additional damage equal to 40% of the original hit. On the other hand, Blade Resonance is her primary stacking buff and her core mechanism. She can hold up to 3 stacks and they can be consumed by her ultimate. Each stack consumed gives her ult plus 10% damage multiplier, and based on how many stacks consumed, it multiplies that damage multiplier even more exponentially. 1 stack doubles that multiplier, 2 stack triples it, and 3 stack quadruples it. This is the core of her damage identity, and you always want to have 3 stacks when ulting. This skill is her only skill that costs Confectance Index, and it costs all 6. We will know how she can earn Confectance Indexes soon. Her ultimate is the big moment. AoE melee corrosion damage, 5 tile radius around herself, affects all enemies within. She consumes all Blade Resonance stacks when ulting, and like we learned before, they give her ult all those damage multipliers. So let's do some calculations. Her base ult multiplier starts at 90% attack. At 3 Blade Resonance stacks, this gets 3 times 10 equals 30% more, totaling 120% attack now. And then because we consumed 3 stacks, it becomes 4x. That's making it a 480% attack multiplier AoE nuke. This is at V0. At V6, she can reach a maximum multiplier of 1840% from her ult in 1 turn. To put that in context, that is doing over 18 times her attack stat to everything within 5 tiles of her. It's absurd. We'll know how we get there. The last thing in her kit is her passive. She gains 1 Confectance Index every time she deals melee damage, up to 3 times per round. Important to mention is that the Lacerating Wound extra proc damage counts as melee damage as well, so it can also generate Phaetusa's Confectance Indexes. When any enemy within 8 tile range takes damage from an allied AoE attack, Phaetusa fires an action support, which is an AoE corrosion melee damage equal to 90% attack plus 1 stability damage, up to 3 times per round. Okay, this is all her passive, but now comes the fun part. After using her skill 2, her passive turns into an active skill that you can click now. So she has a 5th skill button basically, and upon using this new skill, she gains Reversion and an extra command. Reversion is the time travel mechanic we mentioned earlier. When this effect activates, at the end of Phaetusa's action, she reverts to the state she was in when Reversion was gained, including all attribute values, effect stacks, and remaining durations. In practice, this means if she fires her ultimate and then Reversion kicks in, she rewinds back to a state where she still has her Blade Resonance stacks and can fire the ultimate again. This is a crucial once per battle activation that enables her double ultimate in a single turn. We mentioned before that V3 is a considerable middle point because V3 increases this new passive active skill activation from once per battle to twice, meaning the double ult sequence can happen twice in a fight, which is understandably a big upgrade. Speaking of her dupes, let me quickly go through the meaningful Vertebrae breakpoints now. V1 upgrades her skill 2 so that every 2 skill uses, she gains a bonus Blade Resonance stack and plus 15% crit damage permanently. This is actually huge. It makes her Blade Resonance generation much faster and the crit damage stacking over a fight compounds significantly. V1 is the first real impact upgrade and is why V1C1 is considered the best sweet spot. V3 is a significant boost to her passive but now active skill. She gets 1 additional activation per battle, meaning the reverse and double ultimate sequence can now happen twice. Easy to understand why this is good. She also gains plus 50% attack for 1 turn after triggering Eversion, so all her support attacks throughout that turn will also be buffed by this as well. This is a substantial personal and team damage upgrade and is why considered one of the recommended stopping points. And finally, V6 upgrades her skill 2 again and adds a new buff to it that makes her next active attack deal 200% extra damage. You already know that the next active attack after you use her skill 2 is gonna be her ultimate, so the ult gains more damage multiplier now. Considering previous ult buffs at V4, the V6 ultimate formula at max Blade Resonance stacks with this new buff active produces that 1840% multiplier I mentioned. This is where she enters the hypercarry conversation in the Corrosion team. Anyway, let's discuss her weapon choices now, or rather the lack of it since she is a blade user. We don't have many blade weapon in this game. In fact, no pre-SSR blade is available, so her signature weapon, Cause and Effect, is gonna be the best in slot. It boosts corrosion damage, increases AoE damage, and the crit damage bonus applies to her ult. the signature is the recommended weapon from V1 onwards, or if you don't have any other SSR blades to give her. The second best choice is Rectrix, Ulrich's signature blade, and if you got it, you can use it on her for sure. But again, if you want to build a melee only team in future and want to play Ulrich and Phaetusa together, then you will have a problem. Third is the Battle Pass blade. These are all the SSR blade options we got, so if you got this one, you can also use this on her. Unfortunately, if you are looking for completely F2P options, the best bet will be the SR version of her signature blade, which hopefully you can get a copy or two when pulling for her on her banner. If not, just give her whatever else you have on account at that point. For her attachment set choices, Close Assault is the best in slot main set. It's the melee damage set, and Phaetusa is a through and through melee damage dealer, so easy choice. Substat priorities are attack percentage first, flat attack, then crit rate, then crit damage. Your target endgame stats should be about 3.8k attack, 80% crit rate, and 170% crit damage. For fixed keys, the recommended set is Key 1, Cold Blooded Pulse. It gives you plus 20% crit rate as soon as you reach max blade resonance stacks for the first time in a battle. Key 3, Fatal Blade Bearer to do more damage against single enemies, so basically bosses. And Key 2, Wandering Wheel is the third general choice for more lacerating wound debuffs on enemies. If you do need enemy buff dispels, you can also use her Key 5 Domain Mistress instead as your third key. Best in slot common keys will be her own one, and you can use Tololo, Vipli, Lind's keys, etc. Pretty much all the good DPS keys. Be sure to evolve all your common keys so that they have attack percentage, crit rate, and crit damage stat lines. Her remolding core is worth upgrading to level 45. Level 60 doesn't benefit you in boss fights, so don't need to go for it right away. She has 4 red and 2 purple slots. Recommended flowers are 2x attack boost and 2x thronebreaker for the red flowers. Make sure to get some corrosion boost substats as well. And for the purple flowers, it will be 2x smite boost or area smite, whichever you got better. Okay, team synergy wise, Phaetusa definitely belongs in the corrosion team. The meta formation right now is with Klukai, Lind, Misty, and Peritia. But as I mentioned before, Phaetusa is essentially the upgraded version of Peritia in this team. She handles the range-based corrosion support attacks and gives Klukai the needed confidence indexes, and together they stack the corrosion debuffs that power the team's damage output. So you don't really need Peritia in this team anymore. In fact, you can add Paimastina in her place if you can to make a better team for Gunsmoke fights until at least Bestie arrives, and then she will be there to make the full 5 team. And even later on, when Alter Groza comes in the picture, Bestie will basically kick out Misty from the team and Alter Groza will be the 5th unit. This is the current best CN Corrosion team, but keep in mind this is considering all V6 units. If you are not going for V6 Phaetusa, then in future she will be replaced by the new Alter Nemesis, which is free, and you will eventually V6 her. That's why Phaetusa's value drops a lot for F2P and low spending players. Okay, just want to add this here as well. In CN, after they got Sextans, we see quite a few Sextans and Phaetusa pairings there, as Sextans buffs blade units and enables you to try out melee teams. But the most used there seems to be a hybrid team with electric dolls like this one, so do keep this in mind if you want to play her in these other teams or melee teams in future than only Corrosion team. Her skill rotation differs between before and after her V3, since we learned that V3 enables her passive skill to be actively used twice per battle instead of once before that, so you can do the double ult twice in a Gunsmoke fight. Usually that is used on turn 3 and turn 7 as we can see from here, and before V3 you can only use it once, and that's generally on turn 5. Do remember that her skill 2 uses all 6 confidence index, and you can gain 3 confidence per turn from her melee attacks. So you need her support attacks to properly cycle her confidence and skill 2. Also, being a DPS unit, she usually goes at the end of your team, at least for now. In future, Alter Groza will be the last unit and Phaetusa can go before her. Alrighty, time for the final verdict. Phaetusa is an incredibly well designed unit both visually and mechanically. The black gothic aesthetic, the giant purple energy blade, her action animations, and the sharp blade sticking out of her forehead, she is one of the most striking dolls in the game. So if you are a fan of that and you have been saving for her, go for it and get her without thinking twice. On the meta side, she is a strong investment for anyone building or continuing to build the Corrosion team. The team is established with Klukai at its core, and Phaetusa slots in cleanly as the sub DPS who rewards continued investment and substantial improvement over Peritia. Just get her V0 as your entry point and she will contribute meaningfully from the start. This is what I am to pull for, just V0. But if you are tight on pool resources or want to save for future dolls and thinking long term, you are safe to skip her as well. I will highly suggest before you pull, make sure you have enough pulls to get Lorelei if she comes next, which we don't know yet, but she is way more universally valuable for any account, so keep that in mind. If you are going for Phaetusa though, Target V1 and the signature weapon as your first investment goal, since V1C1 is the perfect sweet spot for comfortable sub DPS performance. V3 is a substantial upgrade as a breakpoint, but I want to reiterate that I wouldn't personally suggest stopping here unless you absolutely plan for our V6. And V6 is the actual end goal if you want to see what she is truly capable of, and at that level the answer is almost as capable as Glukai. And that's the complete review for Phaetusa. She is a genuinely exciting and unique unit with one of the most visually spectacular design and skill kit in the game. Let me know in the comments, have you been waiting for Phaetusa? How many dupes are you going for? Are you building the full Corrosion team? I would love to hear how your pools went. If you found this video helpful, drop a like and subscribe, hit the hype button, join the channel membership or send a super thanks if you want to support the channel. Thank you all for watching, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.